Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Kentucky Sustainable Living. We have got Dylan and Erica here from Chronically Healthy. They're going to be speaking at our festival in July. They're going to be talking about food labels. You'll want to come check that out. But we've got a few questions for them today. But we want to get started with why don't you tell us what you all do?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us. We're really excited, and we're really excited about the event in July too. But as far as what we do, we are health coaches, but we work in the functional medicine space. So we use functional medicine testing and principles to help people get to the root cause of their issues. We have a group of doctors who are able to order and read our tests and then create personalized care plans based on those results. So the goal is to basically make functional medicine more accessible, because there's great functional medicine doctors out there, but they can only see so many people in office. And so we are a way to kind of bridge that gap. So if you've been looking for functional medicine, if you've been trying to find answers for your symptoms and not getting, any answers at all, that's kind of where we come in to help you deep dive and ultimately get you back in control of your health so that you're not dependent on anybody else.
Yep. And to what Erica is saying there, she said that we bridge the gap. And so bridging the gap, the way that we do that is by working on the in-between. And so you've got the doctor, you've got the patient, and then there's that in-between space where the doctor says, hey, this is what you should do. This is going to be your care plan. This is the supplementation you should take. And this is how you should implement everything and change your life completely. And that's a great idea for most people. And it's a great starting point. But so many people don't know how to implement that. And so that's where we come in. We make sure that we build the time in for each one of these individuals, and we spend plenty of hours with them over the span of 6 months, 9 months, a year, to make sure that every single bump in the road that they experience, we're handling that bump and we're getting on to the next problem and finding the next solution. And so that's kind of where we are in the space, is just right there in the middle between the doctors and between the patients.
You mean you're not just going to throw some pills at me when something's wrong? We're going to figure out really what's causing it?
Just like the sign says back here, whenever the plant starts to die, we don't just uproot it or throw pills at it. You got to figure out what's going on inside of the soil. And so that's what we're going to do, is find that root cause, because if there is that symptom going on, if there is something happening, there's a reason for it. There's always an upstream. The downstream is always the symptom, the pain, the bloating, the inflammation, the dysregulation of your blood sugar, that type 2 diabetic state, your Hashimoto's, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, no matter what it is, those are downstream. Something broke upstream, and if you keep treating the downstream with those medications, then you're never going to get healing. You're just masking and throwing Band-Aids. Essentially, a Band-Aid over a bullet wound is what you're doing here. So you have to look upstream. Once you look upstream, all of a sudden that downstream starts to flow again.
Yeah, symptoms are just messages from your body letting you know that something is out of balance, something is wrong. And so unfortunately, the model of the conventional healthcare system is just throwing a pill for every symptom. And you really do feel like it's a game of whack-a-mole. Like they're just trying to knock every symptom down. And it's just your body just throws out another one. It just keeps going. Because they're not tackling the root cause issue that would just take care of all of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just like at the end of those commercials, and I promise I'm going to get off my high horse here, but at the end of those commercials that you hear, about every other commercial you're listening to, any news channel or any TV show, it's some sort of medication, and it'll say something along the lines, I just heard this the other day. I just heard this. 4 out of 10 people see relief with their eczema. And it goes on for just a little while longer. So only 4 of 10 get relief with this medication. Then it talks about anal seepage. It talks about cardiovascular disease. And it talks about a risk of, if you have cancer, to not take this medication. And so there's so many sides. And that was just a few.
I'll take the eczema, please.
Yes, I would rather have the eczema than anal seepage.
Yeah.
That's what you get after.
How do you know if you're at risk for cancer? Like, how do you know? I mean,
exactly.
Come on.
Yep.
I have a question though, which I still don't even know that I have this clarified in my head. What is the difference between a regular medical doctor and a functional medical doctor Because when you say functional medicine or functional medicine doctor or whatever, I mean, that could be witch doctor. It could be, I mean, whatever. I don't know what that means. Like, do they have a license? Did they go to medical school? What is that? What's the difference?
Are y'all throwing chicken bones?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do. Chanting and lighting chicken bones on fire.
There you go.
And somehow it works.
Yeah. I love this question because right now the term functional medicine is really kind of getting muddied because it has become so popular and everything. But essentially what functional medicine is a way of healing and treating a person and looking at the body as a whole. So not kind of, segmenting your body into, well, cardiovascular system, you go see your cardiologist. If you have GI symptoms, you go see your GI doctor. But a functional medicine practitioner is going to look at your body as a whole and how it is all connected and support the body that way. Functional medicine also uses good data from your own body. So testing, you always test, you don't guess. And they implement diet and lifestyle changes first. And foremost being the top one, and also looking at your health history as a whole. So for example, if you're sick now, it's not just what's happened to you in the last month that has gotten to the point where you are now. We need to look at your entire health history. How were you as a kid? Did you have multiple ear infections? Were you on antibiotics all the time? And, all of that stacks up to get you to where you are now. So functional medicine takes into account all of that. We've been seeing and hearing stories from clients who come to see us of people claiming to be functional medicine, and they are not. And it's very frustrating because they get these poor people are wanting to take control of their health, and they're basically told. So we've had someone say they saw a functional medicine practitioner, and the practitioner, they had to spend $1,000 in supplements alone, and then said, we'll see you in 6 months. Well, how is that any different than a conventional, all you did was substitute out the medicine and substitute supplements, didn't talk about diet, didn't talk about lifestyle. I know someone else that had a similar experience, and then she ended up having to look up her own diet and finding out resources on her own, and started figuring out all of it by herself. And then when I looked at the labs that they drew, they didn't use what we call optimal ranges. So that's another red flag. If you're looking for a functional medicine practitioner, if they are not using optimal ranges on their labs, that is a red flag. And so what I mean by that is the number one reason why people are going to see their doctor with issues, they draw labs and they say, your blood work looks normal. It's so common. It's because they're looking at your labs through a range called the standard range. And that standard range is the average of what is considered normal for the general population. And when 93% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy, you are compared to sick people. So congratulations, you're normal for a sick person. So if they're not using optimal ranges, there's so much missing information there. So those are just a few things to look out for with a functional medicine doctor. Yes, they are an actual doctor or a DO. They do actually have medical type school type training. It's a different path. It's a non-allopathic path. But unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, we think it's great that functional medicine is rising in popularity, that more people are realizing, hey, this system, conventional healthcare, is not working when it comes to the chronic illnesses. So we love it that people are looking for this option. But because it's gaining in popularity, you have these people who are coming out and claiming to be functional medicine and really tainting the name of functional medicine. So that's some things to look out for.
Yep. And so it's the word that comes to mind is grifters. And so you see in politics all the time, people come out and then they just manipulate people because it gives them attention. It gives them business. It gives them money. Something happens. And of course, we all want to make money to be able to keep the lights on, but it's your underlying root cause. What got you into this? And are you truly wanting to heal the body? Or are you trying to keep somebody on the hook? If you're trying to keep somebody on the hook, then you're doing conventional medicine. You're just calling it functional medicine. You've just traded, like Erica was talking about, a supplement for a medication. And that's another red flag, is, since we're on this subject, is if you go to a functional medicine doctor and they hand you a medication after they look at your labs, the first thing they do, now we're not against medications. There is a use for some medications. I mean, especially like if we're looking at the world of like Hashimoto's or low thyroid, we've got to use something like levothyroxine, Armour, Synthroid, something to get those T3 levels back up again, those T4 levels back up again, because you got to function as a human being. But in the meantime, as you're getting that medication, you're working on healing the gut, because that's where almost all thyroid issues stem from, is going to be your gut lining, not the thyroid. This thing never breaks for the most part. But what happens is your gut gets dysregulated, and all of a sudden this starts to be affected. Because thyroid, if you're only looking from your collarbones up, then you're only getting half the story of thyroid. The vast majority of thyroid, and almost the more important parts of thyroid, happen from the collarbones down. But that being said, if the first thing they do is look at your labs, number one, and say that it looks normal, but you're feeling symptoms, you feel the pain, the bloating, the inflammation, you don't feel like yourself, you've got lethargy, and the doctor tells you that everything looks normal, well, you wouldn't have symptoms if everything was normal. If you had great ranges in the optimal range, you're going to feel good. But another thing is they need to be asking the question, how's your diet? Number one. Number two, how's your lifestyle? How's your sleep? What's stress look like for you? We've worked with so many clients that stress is the determining factor on their disease. They change the job. Not saying that we have to quit our jobs. We should, but I'm just kidding. We don't have to necessarily quit our jobs. So we have to do something to mitigate the stress, whatever that stress is, whether it's a poor relationship, whether it's something to do that we aren't able to make boundaries happen inside of our life. But we've seen so many people with just stress alone, the cortisol, the adrenaline coming from the adrenal glands. Whenever that starts to regulate itself, then that disease starts to go away, because there's so many downstream effects that come from all of that stress that goes on. But if you're not asking those questions, then it's not functional medicine. If you're not looking at everything as a whole, then that's not functional medicine. So if you go to the doctor and the doctor says, well, you've got low thyroid and there's nothing we can do about it, here's some levothyroxine, I question that, because that doesn't sound like functional medicine to me.
Yeah. And hey, Erica, going back when you were talking about they look at the optimal ranges for blood work and stuff like that, I've went down some of these rabbit holes before. As far as like blood pressure is one thing, they say you have to be 120/80 is like the perfect blood pressure. But they said back years ago that it was up higher than that, and that essentially the pharmaceutical companies have kept lowering the blood pressure where they can get all kinds of more people on there. That and your cholesterol levels. They're like, oh my gosh, the cholesterol levels, years ago was this, and then they just keep lowering it to get all these people on the statins and stuff like that. Is there like a legit deal with that?
So you kind of hit it right on the nose there. So speaking of statins especially, so there is a history, if you look into how they have constantly lowered the bar on LDL cholesterol and what they consider healthy. I mean, it was about every, 10 years, they'll say, oh, actually, no, your LDL needs to be here now. In fact, now the standard range, they want your LDL to be to 0, which is insane, because LDL cholesterol has a role in your body. There's so many functions. The creation of reproductive hormones, the health of your brain, your body, as you get older, your liver naturally produces more LDL cholesterol. And it's not because your body's trying to kill you. There is a reason for it. So yes, it does seem like that, because the pharmaceutical companies have a drug that does what it says it does. It lowers that LDL. Although there is debate, there's a cardiologist, I highly recommend this book, Good Energy by Dr. Casey Means. Such a great book. Her name is in the news right now because she is nominated for being the Surgeon General. Yeah, I can never say that, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So she's big in the news right now, but her book is fantastic. And she has a little blurb about, more than a little blurb about LDL cholesterol. And there's a cardiologist that she quotes in there that says, there's 2 types of LDL cholesterol. There's the small, dense particles. There's the big, fluffy particles. The small, dense ones are the ones that are linked to cardiovascular disease. Those are the dangerous ones. You want more fluffy particles. statins lower the amount of fluffy particles of your LDL. So your total number of LDL will go down, but as far as which kind is going down, it's getting rid of the healthier kind, which is really crazy to think about too. Statins has also been linked to type 2 diabetes and Alzheimer's as well.
Yeah.
So, and there's been some news articles out there. It's getting out there that there's probably more risk than benefit. And when we look at someone's lab work, and our doctors look at the lab work and everything, we look at the totality of everything, right? Functional medicine, we're looking at everything all together. So we're not going to hone in on your LDL and be like, whoa, that LDL is crazy high. What's your inflammation like? Do you have insulin resistance? What are your triglycerides? Because triglycerides are more of a contributing factor to cardiovascular disease than LDL. So you want to look at all the other factors and not just pinpoint one single thing like LDL cholesterol.
And on the subject of high blood pressure, that's another one. High blood pressure is something that is so easily regulated. And people will be on these blood pressure medications or diuretics for years and years. And of course, it doesn't go down in milligram or microgram, it goes up. And so the dosage keeps increasing year after year because they're not getting to the root cause. So if we're talking about, like Eric was talking about the optimal range earlier with the labs, so one of the markers is going to be your fasting insulin. Number one, have you ever had that drawn? For the vast majority of people, no, because your insurance won't cover fasting insulin. But the reason I'm talking about fasting insulin is because insulin is going to be one of the main drivers of your elevated blood pressure. In one way that it's going to elevate your blood pressure, insulin is an anabolic hormone, which means that it makes things grow. And so for our big muscle groups, that's awesome. We like to have good muscle tone because that's longevity. But inside of your cardiovascular system, if we get bigger endothelial cells, well, we've got this much diameter, and then we get bigger cells. Well, now we've got this much diameter. And that's more pressure. And the arterial pressure is going to, of course, increase because you've got the same volume of liquid in there. So that same volume of liquid is getting pressed upon, and that's going to increase blood pressure. In another way, whenever we're talking about blood pressure, a lot of times the doctor is going to say, hey, you shouldn't have sodium. Well, the way that sodium affects your blood pressure is going to be through a pathway by another hormone called aldosterone. Aldosterone comes from your adrenal glands, and insulin will tell your adrenal glands to produce more aldosterone. Aldosterone will tell your kidneys to hold on to more sodium. And where salt goes, water follows. So we're adding more volume into your arteries, your veins, your capillaries, because we're holding on to more sodium. But it's not salt's fault. It's the wrong signaling that we're getting because insulin is entirely too elevated. And in both of those ways, a lot of times you handle the person's fasting insulin, all of a sudden these blood pressure issues resolve themselves really quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say blood pressure is one of the fastest things that we see turn around for our members. I mean, it's, within the first month, they're going, whoa, my blood pressure is really lower than it has been in a long time. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the whole old wise tale and everything. It's like, if you got high blood pressure and heart problems, it's like you can't have any kind of salt, and you gotta start using the Mrs. Dash and everything that everybody uses now. And it's like, okay, but I mean, my doctor, I've got high blood pressure. I'm on like a low dose deal. I want to get off of it and do all that. But she told me Celtic sea salt and the pepper, cayenne pepper pills, tablets, taking those. And she said that will take your blood pressure down. So she was like, it's not the salt. She said, use the Celtic sea salt.
Well, yeah, sounds like you got someone who's at least thinking through some things, yeah, and not salt it's an essential electrolyte. I mean, our bodies need it. And once you start messing with that, like there's a huge downstream effect from that as well. So yeah, it hurts my heart when I hear people say, well, I can't have salt because of my blood pressure. I'm just like,
well, what's the first, whenever you go to the ER, what's the first thing that they inject or put into that IV arm? What's exactly, that's
saline. Yeah.
And all that is just a ton of salt.
Yeah, one bag is like 9,000 milligrams of sodium. So that's 9 grams of sodium. The FDA recommendation for a daily amount, which is probably honestly too low, but whatever, their recommended amount is 2 grams. tops on sodium. If you go to the hospital, they're giving you 9 grams in one big bag. So, yeah.
Because 2 grams causes you to become dehydrated, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
Indeed.
It is crazy.
And another way here, Jason, really quickly on blood pressure is if you haven't been tested on your methylation, your ability to methylate. So about 40% of the population has an issue where they have a mutation on their gene, and it's called the MTHFR. Aptly called the mother effer gene.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that MTHFR gene, what happens is you aren't able to methylate, break down, and utilize your B vitamins correctly. And so if your B vitamins start to dip, or you're storing too many of the B vitamins because they're supposed to be water soluble, but if you have difficulty methylating them, your B vitamins might look sky high. But then another marker that you should look at inside of your labs is going to be homocysteine. Your homocysteine will start to creep up as your vitamin B6 and B12 start to dip. And homocysteine is a great marker for cardiovascular health, for your neurological health. I mean, it is across the board. It is a great marker to look at. But if you can't methylate your B vitamins and you're getting a B vitamin such as, let's say, like folic acid. Folic acid is 100% man-made. You can't find folic acid in nature. You can find folate in nature, but you can't find folic acid. But if you're taking a more synthetic form of B vitamin in just your regular run-of-the-mill Walgreens, CVS, Walmart's multivitamin, then you could be doing more damage than good. And that could also be driving up your blood pressure by taking the wrong forms of B vitamins.
Gotcha. I don't take any multivitamins. No vitamins or anything like that. Literally the only thing I take every day is that blood pressure medicine. And then I don't know. I eat a lot of meat, a lot of red meat. So
yeah.
Yeah, and that's another faux pas.
We're fans of red meat. So
well, red meat's one of the most nutrient, if not the most nutrient dense food that's out there that we can consume. But once again, conventionally speaking, they tell you to not even sniff red meat whenever you have high blood pressure, because it is going to be the death of you, and that could not be farther from the truth.
Oh yeah, the last time I had my blood work done, and we'll eat. I eat red meat. I eat meat for every meal. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner it's got meat in it. My opinion on it is, if you've got a meal without meat in it, it's just a snack. It's just my deal with it. And last time I had my blood work done, my cholesterol was a little high from what they wanted it. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything about it. And the doctor's like, what do you eat? I was like, I eat bacon, beef, and lamb and all that. And she's like, you really need to lay off on some of that. I was like, I'm not laying off on any of it. I'm eating hamburgers, steaks, and everything else.
I'll tell you a story about my sister. So my sister went to a doctor, got some lab work done, and they were very concerned about her cholesterol. Her total cholesterol was 1 point over what they wanted, and they wanted to put her on a statin, but she didn't want a statin, so she went to see a dietitian. And I asked my sister, I was like, well, what were your triglycerides? And her triglycerides were like 150. And I said, did they not say a word about that? And she said, no. Well, this is the thing. She goes to this dietitian, and the dietitian says, oh, no. You do not need to be eating meat or eggs. You want like the smallest, the serving needs to be no bigger than the size of your palm when it comes to meat. And you need to have 5 servings of grains a day. And the example of grains that they gave was pancake, English muffin, cereal. There was like a pot. It was all processed grains.
Yeah.
In this document that my sister showed me. And I'm like, what saddens me about that is, if my sister knew better, and she's like, I just sat there and smiled and was like, okay, I'm not going to do any of that. But what saddens me about that is that people will take that advice, they'll do the thing, they won't get results, they'll go back to the doctor or the dietitian, and then the doctor throws their hands up and goes, well, you're just not complying. You're non-compliant. No, your advice is not working. And so many people are suffering in this system because they are 100% being compliant, but the doctors are assuming that they're just not, that it just, they must just, be doing whatever they want and not listening. And that nothing could be further from the truth. So.
Yeah. My honest opinion, I think the best thing you can eat is grass-fed beef and lamb, period, as far as meat. If you just ate that and eggs,
Yeah.
I think if you ate those 3 things, you could probably live and not have anything else wrong with you, don't you think?
Well, very
We
much
love
so.
it.
Well, and that's the crux of the issue there. Number one, there was a lot of epidemiological studies that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. And with many of these studies, what they do is it's pretty much just like a questionnaire. They're actually not sitting with the person watching what they eat day in and day out, but they're asking them, hey, do you have high blood pressure? Checkbox, yes. Do you have type 2 diabetes? Checkbox, yes. Do you eat red meat? Well, yeah, checkbox, yes. Okay, well, then clearly the red meat is causing these problems because these people have these issues and it's correlating with red meat. But they never ask the question. Number one, where's the red meat coming from? Was it McDonald's red meat? Or did it come from the farmer down the street that was treating the animal the right way? It was free ranging, it was healthy and living a very good lifestyle. And number two, what else is coming with this meal? Also, with that McDonald's, there was 2 buns put on top of that with chemicals that are coming from the sauces that they put on it. I mean, you get the Big Mac sauce, that's just a load of canola oil, and
No.
they're not asking those questions. Did you have fries with that? Did you have a large Coke? Mm-mm, just red meat. That's all this study was looking for.
Diet Coke to make it healthy.
Yeah, that aspartame is not going to cause cancer at all. But as far as that goes, the studies are biased, and that's the problem. Is you need to be unbiased whenever you're looking at this stuff. Me and Eric are constantly checking our bias. We're constantly reading the new studies, and if there's efficacy behind these new studies that come out, then we're going to question what we're doing. So far, we haven't really had to make too many changes because, just like you, we believe that a good nutritionally dense diet from the nutritionally dense foods and lowering the inflammation, staying away from the stuff that's chemically processed that causes all these diseases is the way to go. And so far, that hasn't been disproven. But if one day it does, then we will make that pivot and we will eat crow and we'll say, hey guys, sorry, we've been leading you down the wrong way. But then again, we've also got the lab work to back it up. Every time that somebody works with us, we're going to do lab work, and we're going to do lab work about every 90 days. And so we see improvement after improvement after improvement after improvement. If we were doing something wrong, I imagine the organs and the organ systems would say, hey, listen, we don't like what you're doing. And so that would be a great correction factor there. But so far, so good.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the lamb and the beef, like my cow and calf and my sheep are out in the neighbor's pasture in knee-high clover and the beautifulest grass you can look at, and doing what cows and sheep do. They're out there like God made them to do, eating fresh grass, and they get a little bit of grain every day when I bring them back and forth from the barn and bringing them back over to my place. But I mean, we're not feedlotting these things. They get like a coffee can full of grain every day, split between like 10 animals. So, and Shelly's got her lambs. They're all eating. They're not eating it fast enough, are they, Shelly?
No, they're not eating it fast. They don't have enough. It's just growing up around them, and they're not consuming it. But I've only got 4, so a whole lot of acreage for 4 sheep.
Yeah,
But this morning, I wanted to ask you all. This morning, I got a phone call from our oldest daughter, and her daughter, our granddaughter, who is 7, woke up this morning with half of her face not working.
Mm-hmm.
So they took her to an urgent care place, and the doctor at the urgent care said that she had Bell's palsy. She's 7. Like, I've heard, I know adults get this or whatever. I mean, my mom got it once. I know that's a thing, but a 7-year-old. And so, of course, Randy and we bring out, Dr. Google and start trying to figure out what's wrong with her or whatever, which is, let me tell you, it's very scary because some of the things that it had listed on there, I was like, oh my gosh. So but one of the things that it said was that she could have an autoimmune thing, that her body is attacking that nerve that controls that side of her face or whatever. But the doctor at the urgent care told them, had like a whole list of things written out that they need to have her tested for. And he said, you need to call and get her into your pediatrician tomorrow. And I mean, they were saying that, like it could be Lyme's disease. It could be, an autoimmune thing. He had a whole list of things on there that she needed to be tested for, which I'm thankful for that. And they gave her prednisone to take, which is a steroid. But like is the doctor going to dig into it and find the root cause and figure out, are they just going to give her pills to mask it? Or like, I'm kind of freaking out right now.
I was just going to say, I understand where you're coming from. And this is where trying to navigate and be an advocate for yourself and for your children in the conventional health sphere is really important. And a lot of these tests may not be ordered. So you can, look up some of these, specific autoimmune tests and just ask a lot of questions. And if the doctor is unwilling to answer the questions or acts really put off that you are asking questions, maybe, they have that, air about them that they're just like, how dare you question me? You need to find another doctor. Right. The number one thing is curiosity. Is this doctor curious? I would value that over any credentials a doctor may have. And then knowing whether or not they're addressing a root cause. Conventionally, unfortunately, when it comes to autoimmune diseases, they don't address the root cause yet. They'll talk about diet. Sometimes that's becoming more popular, especially with like Hashimoto's. They'll say a couple things about diet, but they really are not getting to the root of an autoimmune disease, which is a leaky gut. And so talking to the doctor about leaky gut, have they ever heard of it? Is that something, you can find some doctors out there who are dipping their toe in the functional side of things as best as they can. Unfortunately, the system is set up against them because if they dip their toe too much into functional medicine, insurance won't cover them anymore. They will be officially out of network with certain insurance companies suddenly, and they will lose half their practice.
Oh, wow.
So there's a great podcast on Joe Rogan with Brigham Bueller all about this. If you really want to hear how insurance companies do control the doctors on what they can and cannot do. So you have to kind of find a doctor who knows how to finagle the system a little bit, but also just asking, not being afraid to ask questions, question everything. And in a polite way. And if you're doing it right, they shouldn't be offended. They should be wanting to educate you. So that's how I would handle it if it were my child, because you still have to navigate this conventional healthcare system. This is the main healthcare system we have. And so for certain things, you are going to have to use it and learn how to navigate it. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, really just look up what the root causes of nerve damage is. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it's going to be something that's affecting the microvessel, or, there could be a epigenetic switch that has been activated. And so you've got your genes and you've got your epigenetics. The epigenetics will activate the gene. So you might have a gene that is allowing for that to happen, but there's something that activated it. And a lot of times with these epigenetics, you can flip that switch on and off depending on what the environment around you looks like or the environment inside of you looks like. So that's another thing to look at, is just really finding what is affecting that nerve. Are the microvessels being affected that are feeding that nerve? Is it lacking the food that it needs in order to function, have the energy or the metabolism to make the muscles function inside of the face? Or if there's something that is deeper, like what Erica was talking about with the gut health. How well is her gut? What has she been eating her whole life? What is her microbiome looking like? And so, there's so
how many rounds
pathways.
Of antibiotics has she been on as a child? That greatly influence it. So,
and the thing about it is, there's not one singular answer a lot of the time. There's going to be multiple pathways to find healing for her. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to know which of these pathways to start to go down. You'll start off with all of them. A lot of times, conventionally speaking, they'll focus on one. And then whenever that one fails, they'll jump to another one. Then when that one fails, they'll jump to another one. But that's maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 3 years down the road, you've finally gotten through all the different pathways. If you did look at all the pathways, as opposed to if you just do a shotgun blast and look at all of them, then you can really start ruling some out and ruling some in. And so go for worst case scenario and work your way down instead of best case scenario and work your way up.
Yeah. If you can find someone that can really look into her gut, that would be good. More than just like a scope. So that's, most GI specialists, they're just going to run a scope and it doesn't really tell you what's going on with the microbiome. If they do biopsies, it's not as sensitive as a stool test. So if you can find, a practitioner that's willing to look at the gut and what's really going on with the microbiome versus, what we can see with the naked eye via a camera. So.
All right. I'll let her know.
Good. Yeah, we wish nothing but the best
I
for her.
know.
And of course, if you have any more questions, always let us know.
Thanks.
Wow. All right. Shifting gears.
Kind of a downer, wasn't it? Sorry.
Right. And then I get to be the bad guy. It's like, okay, that's great. Sorry about that. Let's
Take us out of the funk. Come on.
It might help someone else who's having a similar experience. So,
You never know.
might be listening and go, wait a second, that happened to my kid too.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So Dylan and Erica, y'all are going to be at the festival, which the festival is July 18th, 19th, and 20th in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Get your tickets, KentuckySustainableLiving.com. You can pick up your tickets there. Tickets are $35 for all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The only thing that doesn't include is the Friday class that Refuge Medical is teaching. You can sign up for that on the website. Go to the website. There's a red banner at the top. Click it. It'll take you to Refuge's site to where you can sign up for the class. But y'all are going to be there, and y'all are going to be talking about something that is pretty stinking interesting to me. When we had talked about it before, I was like, that sounds pretty cool. And Shelly's like, yes, we need them to talk about that. So tell everybody what y'all are going to be talking about, but don't give away all the secrets because people have to come to get all the secrets.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to be talking about what is really in your food. So when you go to the grocery store and you look at what's in that on that ingredient label, what are they able to sneak in there? How are they able to do it? What regulations are there really? Is the FDA out there protecting you like they should? And we've got we're keeping up with the news right now because things are changing like crazy on that side of things as well. In many ways, a good way. So we are keeping up on that to let you know as well. What regulations have been put in place to protect you versus what you need to do and watch out for on your own.
Indeed. So just talking all things food and to backtrack just a touch, as far as the most important thing for health, it is what we put into our bodies. If you look at the nutritional density or the breakdown of like a bugle, those old chips that we used to have as kids, you put them on your face, they look like little yeah, they're really fun. But if you look at the nutritional density of them, there's really nothing there. And if that's what's supposed to fuel your body, then how is it supposed to pull anything from that and turn it into the lining of a cell or a hormone or any other aspect of health or aspect of your body? How's your body supposed to build off of that? And if your main diet is consisting of food like Pringles or Bugles or chips, or something that isn't, good proteins, good fats, good nutrient-dense foods with a lot of minerals and nutritional value, then there's not much there for your body to build off of. So we're going to touch on that subject as well to understand what a good nutritional diet looks like. Because in America, we are a nation of protein deficiency. And so the vast majority of Americans are not hitting their protein requirements. We used to back in, we'll say like the 1800s and before, probably before 1940s, 1950s, before we started having a lot of the processed food and we started really offsetting our work as Americans or as individuals, doing our own farming and getting our own fuel source. Whenever we started giving it to somebody else, your body would run on proteins and fats. And if you look at the guidelines that are coming out now for how much a body needs for females, it's between 90 and 120 grams per day of protein. And that is absolute bare minimum. Now, say that you're an active person, or say that you're running a farm, or say that you have a business and you have to perform every day and you're using a lot of energy. Well, that protein needs to jump up 150, 170, touching 200 if you can. And that's for a female. For a male, it's between 130 to 160 bare minimum. And same thing, if you're an active male, if you've got a little bit more muscle tone, you're a bit taller, you got a bigger frame, then you need to be pushing 200 to 250 as a male. And the average American is only getting between 65 to 75 grams of protein per day. So you're starving your body and you're not giving it that nutrition that it needs. And so we're going to be touching on that as well, just explaining what it looks like and making it easy so you'll understand how you should structure your day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, all that good stuff.
Cool. And what about as far as reading the food labels? I know they sneak all kinds of stuff in there. And when you look at anything, pick up something, you're reading it and you're just like, your brain just my eyes crossed, and I'm like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. So really, should I be eating this? And most of the time, they'll put like you put in for a preservative or something like that. And I'm just like, that doesn't sound super good.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we go over all that in that workshop too. We actually have a label we look at and, dissect it and show you like, oh, they use this word this many times. Like it actually means this. So that's what, yeah, exactly.
I've kind of gotten to the point with labels now that if I can't read the word, if I don't know what it means, it's probably not anything I should be eating. And maybe some of them are good, I don't know, but if it's got like 15 syllables in it and too many consonants, I just don't need that in my body.
Right. Yeah.
We always say, if you can't pronounce it, neither can your body.
Right. Exactly.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm big in preparedness, and I've got a lot of stored food and stuff like that. Some of the bulk stuff that I store, it's Keystone canned meat, and I don't know if you've ever seen it or not. The ingredients on it, a 7-year-old can read it. It depends on what meat it is. They do chicken, beef, and pork, and it's like beef, sea salt, and water. And I'm like, hey, there's no other. And they give a 10-year shelf life on that stuff. Yeah. I'm like, shoot, this stuff.
No preservatives. That's wild.
Literally, it's got the meat, sea salt, and water in that can, and I'm like,
well, the sea salt would be the preservative, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is another thing. Whenever we're talking about preservatives, not to give away, everything on preservatives, because we'll talk about that. But if it's preserving it outside of your body, what happens inside of your body?
Yeah.
Like salt, I mean, it's a method of preservation that they've done for, centuries.
Yeah.
Like tried and true, I mean, it's as simple as it gets. So.
Yeah. And salt is something that your body needs anyway. I mean, so yeah, I get it. It is kind of crazy. So we're going down. We'll jump down a rabbit hole about preservatives and stuff they're putting in our food. What about Robert Kennedy Jr.? What do you think? I mean, he came in champion. We're going to take on autism, and we're going to take red dye out of our food, and make America healthy again. Do you think he's actually doing any of that, or is he just kind of bullshitting everybody?
So I have something to say about this. I've been following the MAHA movement and RFK Jr. I really like him. I believe what's happening is he is working in a system that is even harder to get things changed than what Trump is dealing with. I feel like people expected him to come in like a wrecking ball, and you just cannot do it. The pharmaceutical companies, the big food companies, these are so powerful that I think he's trying to be smart right now. So he has built up a team. There's quite a bit of really big names. In fact, his main staff are all people who are on the COVID misinformation list. Like they were totally just, banned 5 years ago from all things social media or media at all, and actually attacked by the government. Now they're on RFKJ's team. So that gives me hope. I think because the reason why I trust him right now, and I'm trying to just let him cook, right? Let's just see how he does, is because he understands this world, I think, even better than Trump does, because he's a Kennedy. He's in his family. I mean, he knows politically how he has to be careful. He's had, 2 family members assassinated, his own dad. He's got to be really, really careful, but also try to push and make the move. So the latest announcement was that I was encouraged by was that the FDA was going to be removing petroleum-based food dyes. They will be completely out of the food system in 2 years.
Okay.
So that is huge. I mean, I know that seems like such a small step, but for the FDA to admit that these are even a problem is, huge, especially with big food companies just flat refusing to do these, even when they see that people are not buying this anymore. They don't want it anymore. So.
Well, and if we're looking at this from a business standpoint, you can't come in and just scorched earth everything, because these businesses are there to make a profit. They're there to make money. So and as much as, some of us want to say that there's altruism in this world, I would argue the opposite of that. Normally, you always get something from something that you're doing, even if you're sacrificing. But these companies, they speak in the realm of money. And if you come in and you scorched earth them and they lose all their profits, they're going to fight against you tooth and nail. But if you give them a little bit of time and you say, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start to take these little things out. We're going to give you time to be able to figure out how to source it differently and still keep a decent profit going here to where you don't have to fire all of your staff. Then that's going to be the way that we're going to play. And that's probably the way that they're going to have to go about this, is from a business standpoint. From a individual standpoint, we're all angry. We're all mad that we've been duped. We were 90s babies. And so being 90s babies, we got fed the Pop-Tarts, the toaster strudels, all of these, preservative-rich, inflammatory, chemical-laden, pieces of nonsense that wrecked our GI tract and led us to disease. There are so many 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds now that have disease, and these diseases are normally diseases of older age individuals, 60s, 70s, 80s. And we're now getting them in 20s, 30s, and 40s because of what we got fed. And so we're all mad. We're all angry about it. But from a business standpoint, you have to be careful, and you have to allow these companies to adapt to keep their profit margins. And like what Erica was saying, I believe that they're doing that. But this is going to be a 10, 15, 20-year journey. This is not going to be a 4-year journey. This is going to be something we have to slowly keep moving. And hopefully in 2 generations, they are going to be a much more healthy generation than what our generations have been.
And I think we as a people pushing for this, truly voting with our dollars over the last, how many years, I think that's the whole reason why this was even a movement in the first place.
Right.
And so we have to keep pushing for this change as well. Because as he said, with the company, it's all about money with these food companies, especially. It's about money with the other companies as well. But, if their profits start going down and we start putting money towards other companies who are doing right, they're going to have to change, with or without political, regulations.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I was going to say that too, vote with your pocketbook kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think voting with your pocketbook goes a heck of a lot faster than government regulations on it.
So, well, look at what just happened with Siete. Siete just got purchased from Pepsi. If Pepsi was going to buy a company such as Siete, who's aimed at being completely grain-free, trying to help out people with autoimmune diseases and just general population, general health, but if they didn't have value because people were voting with their dollar, Pepsi would have never looked at Siete.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Well, hopefully he'll keep on keeping on. And I know and you're right, Erica, the I don't know, the big pharma and big ag swamp is probably bigger than the political swamp in DC. So it's going to take a while to do.
It's amazing how many people can get silenced. Just one other point, just with the pharmaceutical company. I don't know if you've ever paid attention to James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, if you've heard of him. Yeah. He used to be he created Project Veritas. And then he had an undercover video where this it was a Pfizer executive or whatever, someone high up in Pfizer, talking about how they knew that there were side effects to these vaccines that were affecting women. They didn't understand why it was happening, but they knew it was happening. And like this, it was a huge story. James O'Keefe, who in so many ways is untouchable and will not be silenced, he got, kicked out from his own company after that video.
Yeah, they got rid of him.
He hasn't done another Pfizer video since. He's got his own company company now, OMG Media or whatever. And I haven't seen another Pfizer video since. And this is a man that is rarely, he cannot be scared, So that to me is just another, showing of how powerful
he scared him with something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's come out in any video saying, just letting you know, I'm not suicidal.
Yeah.
If something ever happens to me, I'm not suicidal.
Wow.
What didn't they change the regulations on the COVID vaccine now, or the recommendations on it?
Another win. Yes. Pregnant women and children, it is no longer recommended.
Yeah. I mean, it would be awesome if they're just like, hey, this was a whole farce. We're just taking it off the shelf. But
I think they're afraid of, even though the pharmaceutical companies can't be sued for vaccine injuries, I think the government is afraid of the backlash of it because they mandated it.
oh yeah, well, I'm all about heads on spikes, in my opinion. So if we had a few more heads on spikes, we'd be doing a lot better.
I know I saw Elizabeth Warren do a video after they, passed that. She was like, they're trying to kill babies and children and all of this kind of stuff because they don't have to have the COVID vaccine now and all of this. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
So I work at a children's hospital, and I worked full time at a children's hospital during COVID. And I can tell you that it was not a high risk at all for children. So that's all I'm going to say. The children who did have, tragic events, they were children who already had a ton of other health problems. So, genetic problems or something like that they were dealing with. So, and then also, I work in the realm of radiology, and I know ultrasound techs who were telling me of women, they were seeing miscarriages like crazy.
Oh my gosh.
And no one would talk about it. So
and no one's being held accountable.
And that's the thing. No one's being held accountable. And I really think that's why, I don't know if we'll ever see it completely come off the market because the government would have to admit that they were wrong in mandating it, and they can't do that.
Yeah. The only justice they'll get is when they're rotting in hell for doing what they did. So,
right.
I mean, because and honestly, they'll never be held accountable. So, old Pocahontas, she needs to go back to the reservation and talk to her people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. She needs to worry about building another casino somewhere for the Indians.
Well, and you see how deep it goes. And what Erica's talking about, not everybody inside of the medical sphere that's conventional is bad. The vast majority of people, because me and Erica have worked in the conventional medical system for the past 14 years. And so you get into it because you have a passion for helping people. There's something that's driving you. A lot of times it's going to be higher in empathy, but something's driving you to want to take care of people. So the doctors, the nurses, the rad techs, the respiratory techs, all these people are not in it for the wrong reason. They're just bought into a system that is just broken. And so, because if we go back and remember, whenever COVID happened, the vaccines were mandated by Trump. So it wasn't the Biden administration. So you know that it's coming from across the board. It's not a political party that's pushing this. It was across the board. People were bought and paid for, or they were educated in a way that wasn't adequate for the human metabolism. And that is a lie that is now starting to get exposed more and more and more. And that's where functional medicine comes in, is where we're looking at what your body is telling us, and we're seeing the exact ramifications of what the changes is that you make or the things that you introduce into your body, which is the way that it should be, as opposed to saying, we know better, we're going to force it on you, and then we're going to see what happens. You're a group experiment, not we're actually going to test this and make sure that it's okay.
Yeah. All right.
Wow. Okay.
What? Shelly, you got a rabbit hole you want to go down?
No, I don't.
I want to go down the methylene blue rabbit hole. Is it good stuff, or is it just another flash in the pan kind of thing?
There has been studies. I've been recently reading a few of these and watching a lot of videos from people that are a lot smarter than me. And there are quite a few people talking about the benefits of methylene blue. One thing that does cause me to be curious about it and hesitate for me not personally to use it is the fact that whenever they do an autopsy on somebody that's utilizing methylene blue, their brain is blue. And we know what methylene blue is. It's coming from the dye from blue genes. That's essentially where it's coming from. But there are benefits to it. But I don't know if it's been on the market long enough. There's been longitudinal studies that are just exactly what the name is there. Longitudinal studies done long enough to know that it is 100% certifiably safe, like a methylated form of the B vitamin. We know that that's good for the body. But methylene blue is something that doesn't make you function better and bring you a little bit more mental clarity. Yes, that's been proven. but we don't know what the long-term effects are. So I'm still hesitant on it. And I'm all about nootropics. I love me some nootropics, but I am hesitant on methylene blue for
Did
now.
you say that comes from the dye in blue jeans?
Well, they use it for dyeing blue jeans then?
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
So-
I wonder if there's a difference on quality and sourcing of it as well. Like I'm
sure
sure
there
there's
is.
a difference between like I know RFK Jr.'s been, that's something he uses, or I'm like, is there a certain kind that he gets? Is there a more synthetic form? I don't know. That's something you need to be careful of as well.
Well, it's just like the talk on peptides. With peptides are essentially just strands of amino acids, which come from proteins. And certain chains of peptides will have your body do certain signaling. You can make synthetic forms of this, and that's going to be detrimental to your health as opposed to a more natural form of it. But that's something that I don't have enough knowledge about with methylene blue to be able to speak to it. It's just, like I said, from my opinion, from my standpoint, the fact that it's changing the brain to be more blue in tint, I don't know if that's a bad thing or if that's a good thing, but it gives me a little bit of pause.
I would say so.
It's turning you into a Smurf.
Yeah.
Little bit that cartoon is coming to life.
Yeah. Or you might look like those blue people. What is it? The blue people in Eastern Kentucky?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's the Blue Man Group in Vegas.
That's when you said Eastern Kentucky, I'm sitting here going, I thought they were in Vegas. Okay.
No,
I didn't even know we had blue people in Kentucky, but okay.
Actually, blue people, yes.
Isn't it there's blue people in Kentucky where it's something about silver or something like that? Or something they
like colloidal silver or something?
I've heard also that it's a genetic, recessive gene, a very, very rare recessive gene. And they are so isolated because these are like real like mountain isolated communities that there was,
inbreeding.
History of inbreeding a little bit with these, small communities that made this recessive gene more dominant there. But yeah,
I'm sure that happens in Tennessee too. It's
no, you guys. That's
don't be knocking Kentucky.
That's why the University of Kentucky's color is blue, and we're orange. We're closer to the actual pigment of skin here in Tennessee.
I'll see how you are.
That's pretty good.
Hey, I run through Eastern Kentucky and all through Tennessee, and it's damn near the same. So, I mean,
some sketchy mountain people here as well.
Yeah, just the main colors is the only argument I have here.
But then and we can agree, once you get down in Alabama, it's just forget it.
Yeah,
whole nother level.
Shout out for Forrest.
Yeah.
Jay. Forrest, then you get in Louisiana, and it's difficult to understand people.
Yeah. Right? Well, shoot. I was kidding Jay because I went down to Alabama. Jay with Prepared Citizens. I ran down there and we were going to do a rifle class. I stopped in Alabama at the gas station. I was like, I got to get some fuel and run to the bathroom. So I ran to the bathroom, was getting ready to go up to pay for my fuel. And the girl that was working there was turned around backwards. I mean, beautiful looking girl from the back. She turned around and smiled. And she goes, "What do you need, honey?" And she had like 2 teeth. I was like, "Yep, I'm in Alabama." So I was here. It's all I could do. I was thinking it in my head. It's all I could do not to just bust out laughing.
We can't go off the rails here, Jason. We can't do this, especially not with the health people. We can't do that.
We've already went off the rails.
Yeah.
So, well, all right, mental clarity. Then, if the methylene blue doesn't do it, what do you think about nicotine?
I was just about to say nicotine. So what's coming out now, and there's quite a few doctors studying this and quite a few studies that are coming out that are showing that nicotine by itself is non-addictive, which is a complete flip on what we've been taught pretty much our entire lives since the 1920s, 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
Nicotine is highly addictive, and it is showing right now that it's not. We're going to keep watching this and keep seeing what's going on. But there are plenty of studies also talking about the benefits of nicotine on blood sugar, that it is a nootropic, number one, and it helps out with mental clarity. But then number two, it also helps out with blood sugar regulation. And then number three, it helps out with immune modulation. And so it's helping people with whenever they have sicknesses that they're getting over the sicknesses faster by utilizing either a nicotine patch or using a pouch. And so that's something that I've been experimenting with over the last couple of months is the nicotine pouches. And the brand that I've been going with is Lucy. It's one of the cleaner brands out there because once again, they can make synthetic or they can make natural. And so I'm trying to lean more on the natural side, coming from the actual tobacco plants. But that being said, my blood sugar regulation, I'm a type 1 diabetic for those of you that don't know. So I don't regulate blood sugar very well without a synthetic insulin. I've been able to average about 30 units of insulin per day. And this is just one little aspect is the nicotine. There's a lot more that goes into this. There's a lot of nutrition, diet, lifestyle, everything that we do. But I have noticed that I've been able to come down a little bit off my insulin by a few units. The average person makes between about 35 to 45 units a day. I'm giving myself about 30 to 25 units a day. So I'm even giving myself less insulin than the average body does. And that's something that I have noticed. I've made a few different changes, but nicotine has been one of those. But you are seeing in different studies that nicotine does have benefits to the body, as long as it's coming from a non-synthetic base.
Well, and that's why they noticed during COVID, people who smoke, they expected to do worse with COVID, and they actually did better with COVID, and they believe it's because of the nicotine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. All right.
Yep. But the information's still out. So, the jury's still out on this. It might turn out that it's not as great for you as what we're thinking right now. But for now, the data is showing it's flipping the other direction on nicotine. Because whenever we have cigarettes, there's 54 different chemicals in a cigarette, and 24 of those chemicals are the addictive chemicals, nicotine not being one of them.
Wow. Maybe they can make a methylene blue cigarette that is addictive stuff, and you can blow like blue smoke.
Does that mean that there was something else that was in the cigarettes that was addictive? Because cigarettes are addictive.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
I mean, I'm never going to stop believing that. I've seen people that have been addicted to them. So chemicals that are in the cigarettes to make them addictive, just like putting extra sugar and Coke and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I got you.
Exactly. Yep. There was 24 addictive chemicals in cigarettes.
But not nicotine.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, Billy at Perma Pastures, Billy had got some organic tobacco from somebody that was just pure organic tobacco. He ground it up, mixed a couple flavorings in it, and made it into dip. And he was like, "You want me to send you a little bit?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I tried it. Man, that stuff was night and day difference than what you can buy in the store. I mean, and he was like, it's not got any of those chemicals. I think it had a little bit of molasses and a little bit of salt in it, I think is what he put. So he was like, I'm making my own. So he sent me a little bit, and I was like, hey, this stuff is the bomb right here. So, but I think we've covered everything. I don't have any other deep rabbit holes. Shelby, you got anything?
No, I'm good.
All right. Shoot everybody a little bit more stuff about the festival, and then we'll wrap it up and put a bow on it.
We have got, oh my gosh, our lineup of speakers and workshops is just amazing. Some of our speakers that we have the Barbara Sue from Kowalski Mountain, who's going to be talking about storing preps properly. We've got Dr. Trevor Wilkins is going to be talking about dealing with trauma. We've got Chronically Healthy. They're going to be talking about food labels. Bear from the internet, he's going to be talking about building community. Then we've got, and just a few, and that's just a handful of our speakers. Our workshops, a few of them, we've got William Bond is going to be teaching composting. We've got Bruce DeVries is going to be teaching about biochar. Katie, Miss Katie, it just left me what the name of her thing is.
Butter and yogurt.
Yeah, well, I know she's got like a name for her business or whatever. She's going to be teaching how to make butter and yogurt. And then we've got Greg New that's going to be teaching beekeeping. We've got Matt Wilkinson is coming back. If you were at the festival last time, he's going to be coming back and teaching chicken processing. Leslie's going to be there doing herbal stuff. So y'all, we've got 16 different workshops and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different speakers. And you get all of this, all 3 days, $35. That's it. I mean, if you can't come and get your skills for homesteading and preparedness, I don't know how you would do it any cheaper than that.
Yeah. I mean, that's I mean, honestly, for one of the workshops, it's worth $35.
Right.
Realistically, I mean, heck, I would pay $35 to hear about all the stuff that's in the, you know, how to read the labels. I mean, I think that's worth $35. So
definitely,
we need to record that, and then we'll put it behind a paywall and give everybody a cut. So, all right. Well, Erica and Dylan, we appreciate y'all being here. I can't wait until July. Guys, get your tickets. You can meet Erica and Dylan at the festival. Talk to them one-on-one. They'll have a booth there to where you can talk to them. You can set up and schedule appointments after the festival. Get your consultations with them and everything. And Shelly's doing some of that right now.
Yep.
So,
yep.
So
I started. I'm first week. Tomorrow is the end of my first week, and I haven't died. I'm all good.
She doesn't hate us just yet.
I do complain a lot. Erica can tell you. I'll send her texts. I'm like, I hate this. I want to eat this, and I can't, you know, or whatever. But I am feeling better. Like even after just a week, I am feeling better. My knees don't hurt as bad. I don't feel like as bloated as I was. I feel mental clarity. You know, that's better. And I can't believe that just after a week of just and all I'm doing, which I'm taking the stuff, but it's changing what I eat. That's it. So it's just amazed me how much better I feel just in a week. So
that's awesome. I'm happy for you.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Give it a few weeks, a few more months.
all right. Awesome. Yeah. So guys, come out there. See what in a couple more months. Shelly can tell you in a couple more months how much better she's doing and working with them. I mean, guys, y'all can book appointments with them and everything. I'll put a link to y'all's website down below in the show notes. But guys, we appreciate it a bunch, and I can't wait until July. And guys, I appreciate y'all watching this, and we'll hope to see you in July also. Thanks.
Thank you guys.
see y'all later.
Bye, guys.